everybody says to me, nobody has a life like you. And they do, that's what they say. You don't have any reason to be angry at anybody. And I haven't. I've been treated well, and by my own children and by my grandchildren, and I am a blessed grandmother. I really am.
What'd you get, Grandma?
We owe you a sightseeing cruise in the spring.
Oh.
I'm gonna cry.
Well, it's not.
Sightseeing cruise to the heart of the Columbia River Gorge. Learn about its formation, landmarks, and natural wonders with Captain's narration.
Aww.
Snacks and beverages.
The best part.
Our full service bars are available for purchase on board. Oh gosh.
Aww, you made it fun.
Thank you.
In one word, I think of Marilyn as being extremely resilient.
Gosh. Stubborn and funny and loving. So that's 3.
Frustratingly adorable.
Strong.
She's just so caring. She's so sincere.
She's a pretty brave lady.
She's just so feisty.
She's kind. And she's always persevered.
She's really, really caring, and she's very ornery, which is a good thing to have in a personality.
She really wants to be independent, and she really wants to be able to still be able to do things on her own and to feed herself and to hold on to things, and she's realizing she can't.
So she was a great role model for a mother. She also said to me, she was going to do exactly the opposite of what her mother did. Her mother was pretty strict and pretty micromanaging, and Grandma, my mom, was never micromanaging about anything. And she didn't want to have the same kind of relationship with me that she had with her mom, because there was a lot of fear. Grandma wanted to make sure that there was never that fear between the two of us, and there never was.
I always could count on her being there to talk to me and be sympathetic or empathetic to whatever was going on. And she's always just made a big effort to be, to love the people that are her family.
Comparing her to when we were younger to now that we're older, I feel like the roles have kind of switched a little bit. Because whenever we needed someone to pick us up from school, to take us to appointments, to go over and just hang out and watch TV, she was always there and is always there.
Right now, I think a big part of all of our relationships with her is her wanting us to be happy and telling us that we don't need to figure out our whole lives right now, and we should do what makes us happy and follow what makes us happy and have adventures. And
my grandmother and grandfather always respected what their grandchildren had to say and treated us like we were equals, and like our opinions mattered.
From when she married Grandpa and decided to start a new life without permission from her mom, to a lot of different things.
she got fired from one of her jobs because she was being nice to African Americans, and they told her not to, and she was just like, well then, like that's not okay. And so starting with all those stories of her being so independent.
My first real job was right after we got married, and I was hired by J.C. Penney in Pensacola, Florida, and to work in the men and women's department. And one day when I came to work, she said, Marilyn, you're going to have to answer some questions. And I said, what's that? And she said, you may be fired. And I said, why would I be fired? And she said, because you say, thank you, ma'am, and thank you, sir, to, and she didn't use the word Negroes or black people. And she said, so don't be surprised if the manager calls you in. 2 days later, or 3 days later, she told me I was to go up to see the manager of the store. And he had his own office And I went to see him, and I asked him what the problem was, and he said, I have to fire you. And I said, why? What have I done wrong? And he said, because you say, thank you, ma'am, and thank you, sir,
To the black people.
to the black people.
Just having that ability to stand up for what she believed in, and even if it cost her or she had to put sacrifices for it, I think she's very brave.
And I think she was a woman before her time in a lot of respects, of having this understanding of feminism and equality before they were really talked about.
Chili powder, garlic, biscuit, cornmeal, milk, and cilantro.
Yeah, I don't have cilantro. Never use that. That's how I make chili.
Yeah.
I just love your hair.
Good, I'm glad. It probably doesn't. We're not close enough.
Okay, so. Open that thing. Different than my grandma's.
What part are you on?
What part am I on?
Yeah.
Just where Hagrid takes him into town, away from the Dursleys, to
Uh-huh.
get clothes and stuff.
To go shopping? Uh-huh.
Yeah. Do
The Island
shopping.
Alley.
I remember that in the movie.
Yeah.
I remember all of it.
My sisters and I have been very lucky to be able to have such a close relationship with both our grandmother and our grandfather, who passed away about 1.5 years ago.
Grandpa had a great passage. I don't know if you know that, but we were able to find out he wasn't going to live long with enough time to get everybody that he knew to come to see him. He was awake and alert for most of that time. He was sleepier and slept more, but when he was awake, and he wasn't afraid, and he knew what was going on.
He made us think more critically about the world, but also more imaginatively as well. And we would give him a book, and he would have read it in like 2 hours. Be like, where's the next one? And so all those ideas that he had from books, but also from just being part of history, gave him such an incredible grasp on everything that's going on and everything that was going poorly.
He was an amazing teacher. He was an amazing counselor at the high school. Kids who got into trouble, he had a lot of empathy for, because he was that kid. He's that kid who got into trouble a lot.
He had a very open-minded, liberal way of looking at the world, and like the older he got, the more the more liberal he got. That some people, like, the older they get, the more conservative they get. He was the opposite. Like, he got more and more like radicalized and liberal as he got older, and that I always felt really safe in being able to like express my worldview with him, and that he would always be understanding of that, and even push my thoughts in a more like open direction.
I have very good memories of him, honey. It's hard to express because he never put any demands on me. And as I thought of a wife would be, he accepted what I did, how I lived. And that really was our very calm, open relationship. Whatever I wanted to do was all right with him.
Give this to your mom, honey.
I will give it to Mom.
How are you?
Number one.
How are you?
Sorry, Nick.
I love you.
I love you too, Danny. Glad to see you.
Buttermilk cinnamon roll. Remember buttermilk, and I put pepper in my buttermilk? And Miranda told her dad, Grandma puts pepper in her buttermilk. I've done that all my life.
These are very pretty right here.
Yes, they are.
She has these stories, and she has this history, and she repeats it often, and especially more now that she's older. Like, they would tell me stories like it was the first time that they'd ever said them, but that I'd heard it dozens of times. But that she's always really sincere when she's telling them.
The very strong regard for the importance of our family and our family's story comes from her. Her over Grandpa just wanted to tell stories about her life growing up and her life with, you know, once she had Mom and our uncles, and keeping all those things alive.
She's really like the holder of this knowledge of our family history, and a voice of a generation that is in the process of passing away.
I was working for the local little bi-weekly newspaper. Granddad had just started his first job in Woodland, California as a 6th grade teacher. And we would meet on Fridays and have lunch at this little donut shop. And it was next door to a regular restaurant. And Granddad and I went into this donut shop on a Friday in 1959, I think it was, or 60, and ordered a hamburger. And we were sitting there waiting for the meal to come, and the owner of the store, there was 2 men, one owned it and the other one worked with him. The owner came over and whispered, he said, "We've got company." And your granddad said, "What are you talking about?" You know, he didn't bother to lower his voice or anything. And the guy said, "Bing Crosby's sitting there, just came in, the actor." And I went over to the newspaper office and told them who was there, because the newspaper office that I worked in were just around the corner. And they came back with a camera, and that's where that picture was taken.
You know, as she retells those stories, I feel like she relives some of those memories and is like, you know, sincerely trying to hang on to that history and that past.
She was fascinating to me because she was doing all this stuff. She was, you know, would go to city council meetings, and she was, you know, she was on a committee appointed by the governor of the state of Oregon to look at like work programs. I think, I'm not exactly sure what they were, but they flew all over the state looking at these different programs and making reports on them.
She was a judge. She never really talked about it much. I mean, other than it was kind of hard. I think it might have been emotionally draining. Mother wasn't a person to be very condemnatory of anyone. And mostly she just liked people and liked chatting with people. And I could just picture her talking to somebody. Well, what made you think you could go and be drunk and drive? Or whatever it was that was going on in her judicial duties.
And I had small jobs. I went to work for a company in Riverside, California that sold advertising. And I was a long-distance operator. And I was hired as a receptionist to answer telephone and send people to where they had to go.
But like I said, my mother, as far as I know, she worked every day of her life until she and Dad kind of retired, I guess.
Of course, she was also, I thought, incredibly beautiful too. So she was just, you know, she was just fascinating to me that she did all these different things, and she always was so confident, and just, you know, she was a great role model.
Grandma really set a standard in how to raise your kids, and I think that passed down to Mom, and I think Mom's passing that down to us. So I hope that I can raise my kids just as well as Grandma raised hers, and we're really lucky to have her and it as such a good role model of even at her age and her like time history. Like when she grew up, she still was a very independent woman. She and Grandpa both valued women's education and just a lot of things that they're very feminist compared to a lot of people at that time, and I think that that's been passed down through us, and that girl power thing keeps going through us, and I think that's really, really valuable, and that comes from Grandma. I think that because Mom wouldn't be who she was without Grandma, and so we're lucky to have her.
There have been multiple times when I will drive her into town or take her to her appointments or do whatever, whether it's just going over to take out the trash for her or to take her to an appointment. Every single time she makes a comment of like how lucky she is that she has the best granddaughters ever, and oh my gosh, she can't be more blessed because her granddaughters are so great. And it's not, for me, it's always something that startles me a little bit. One, because I feel like she should expect us to love her that much, especially because she loved us that, or has loved us that much.
It's kind of difficult to say how she is as a grandma because she's a grandma. You know how grandmas are. They're wonderful, wonderful people. She would say she's lucky to have me and my sisters and my cousins as granddaughters because we, like, spoil her rotten, apparently. But she did the same for us.
Overall, they just felt constant. They were not people I had to worry about not being there, or people that I only saw a couple times a year. You know, I think I'd have stronger words for my relationships with family members that I only see occasionally, because they were just this constant source of love and knowledge and acceptance and encouragement and support.
The most wonderful thing she has is that you guys, every time you leave her or show up, it's "I love you, Grandma." She says that to everybody. She says it she repeats it. That she's a blessed grandma.
I have told many people I'm a blessed grandmother because I have grandchildren, all girls, that for many, many times that I took them anywhere and I had a cane or something with me, they got it out of the car, opened my door, said, "Here you are, Grandma, thank you, and I love you." And it still continues today, Miranda. I hear it all the time from all four of you. Rachel calls, she tells me she loves me on the phone. Andrea calls and she tells me she loves me on the phone. And believe me, that is a wonderful, wonderful relationship. I'm blessed.
All right, I got the door behind you.
Oh, you're doing that again.
You're so beautiful.
Oh, yes.
You are pretty.
Served with spaghetti and mazzitra cheese and brown butter.
That's what I want.
Grandma picked hers.
That was fast. That was fast. You like knew what you wanted right away.
Yes, I love chicken.
May your days be merry and bright, and may all your Christmases be white.